Shen Yanqi, the fiancé of that young lady, has been making waves in the capital lately. He teamed up with the morally ambiguous master thief Lu Xianxian and cracked several major cases. Unsolved mysteries, they set up a fake wedding ceremony as a trap, so convincing it could fool anyone. One is a master strategist, the other with a keen eye for detail. They started off as rivals, but became partners, working together seamlessly. They uncovered the truth and upheld justice. Their tales became legendary. But because of this, it made his fiancée seem somewhat superfluous and awkward. When news arrived that Shen Yanqi was punished by his family, that young lady was watching an opera excerpt. The excerpt was newly staged, the most popular one in the capital right now. It tells the story of the female thief, Silver Sparrow Su Ning, and Constable Qin Zhao from the Six Gates solving a case together. The case involved a series of jewelry thefts. The thieves specialized in stealing pearls from bridal phoenix crowns. Their methods were ingenious. They struck precisely during the wedding night, the moment of exchanging cups. In just the blink of an eye, as the candles flickered, the bride's phoenix crown was left empty. Initially, the court pinned it on Su Ning because at each crime scene, they found the infamous silver sparrow dart. But later, Qin Zhao discovered, while the dart was indeed a silver sparrow mark, the footprints left outside were clearly from a man's boot. This was a clear case of framing. From then on, Qin Zhao and Su Ning decided to join forces, vowing to catch the real culprit. What people love to talk about most is the part where they fake a marriage to catch the killer. One, a chivalrous young hero. The other, a master thief. One, a disciple of the righteous path. The other, walking the line between black and white. Their paths should never have crossed, each going their own way. Yet, feelings are hard to control, so they use the setup as an opportunity, half in jest, half in earnest, to exchange the words, "My dear wife." Love in this world is like the white snake and Shuxian, the weaver girl and the cowherd, knowing it's impossible, yet striving for it anyway. That's what makes it so moving. Precisely because of this, the story of Su Ning and Qin Zhao became wildly popular in the capital. That young lady sent someone to wait in line for 3 to 5 days, just to secure a private box on the second floor of the opera house. When her maid came to report Shen Yanqi's punishment, she was watching the most thrilling part of the play. The real and fake silver sparrows were locked in combat. Su Ning's movements were as agile as a butterfly flitting among flowers. Her wedding dress still on, her veil lifted, her peerless beauty was fully revealed. Qin Zhao stood guard beside her. With a casual flick of his sword, a bamboo leaf shot out, barely blocking the hidden weapon launched by the fake silver sparrow. He laughed. "Be careful, my dear wife." Su Ning smiled. Her smile was 3 parts genuine, 7 parts feigned. She replied brightly, "Thank you, my dear husband." The role of Silver Sparrow is played by the famous Li Yuan actress, Su Yunyang. Her eyes sparkled with emotion, a playful scowl and a radiant smile. With a single "my dear husband," it made her feel weak all over. The case was full of twists and turns, and the romance was portrayed with incredible depth. This truly is an excellent opera. It's just a shame that the real-life inspiration for Qin Zhao in the play is none other than her own fiancé, Shen Yanqi. As everyone knows, these recent plays at the Li Yuan are all adaptations of major cases recently solved by Deputy Minister of the Dali Temple, Shen Yanqi. Major cases happen every year, so that's nothing special. But add a touch of romance to a major case, a hero paired with a beauty, and it becomes a street legend. In every street and alley, over tea and after meals, everyone is talking about it. They say that Shen Yanqi and Lu Xianxian, when they met, it was like a perfect match, a love story for the ages. Shen Yanqi admired Lu Xianxian's skills and wit. After several major cases were concluded, he specially submitted a memorial, pleading for imperial grace. Her merits offset her past crimes, and she was no longer a wanted fugitive of the court. The story should have ended perfectly here, just like in those storybooks. All that was missing was a wedding feast that would rock 3 streets, turning the hero who gets the girl into a celestial couple who fights injustice. Unfortunately, the common folk on the streets didn't know that Shen Yanqi already had a fiancé. This fiancé knew nothing of swords or martial arts. She was a proper young lady from a respectable family. Lately, she had almost become a laughingstock among Shanglei City's elite circles. Her father was furious. He once wanted to order the Li Yuan shut down. It was her mother who repeatedly advised against it. If they really shut down the Li Yuan, the people wouldn't know the reason, and would only dig deeper. That's when it would truly become common knowledge. The opera about the chivalrous detective and the flying thief was too popular. Even her close friends from her inner circle wrote letters asking about Shen Yanqi's recent situation. They asked how, while properly carrying out his official duties, he ended up starring in such a romantic drama. Did he even remember he was already engaged? She pondered over her pen for a long time, but in the end, she didn't know how to reply. Finally, she only wrote down one sentence. "It's all just an act." At least that preserved some of her dignity. Shen Yanqi ultimately faced family discipline. Everyone in the Shen household remained tight-lipped about the reason for his punishment. Nothing was said outright, yet everything seemed to have been said. Shen Yanqi had just distinguished himself with merit. He was dignified and noble, courteous to everyone. He never visited brothels, never set foot in gambling dens, and never disobeyed his elders. Yet he still received family discipline, a full 30 lashes with the cane, leaving him confined indoors for 6 or 7 days. He could only request leave to rest at home. There was only one reason for it all. It was all because of Lu Xianxian. Her engagement to Shen Yanqi was arranged 3 years ago. They were close in age and matched in social standing. At that time, one of his maternal uncles was involved in political affairs and happened to be on very close terms with Shen Yanqi's father. With this uncle acting as matchmaker for both families, the marriage was naturally settled. Back then, Shen Yanqi had just entered officialdom, and she had just made a name for herself in the capital with a zither performance at the princess's hairpin flower banquet. A talented man and a beautiful woman. All the relatives praised them, saying it was an excellent match. She asked her cousin to arrange meetings and had interacted with Shen Yanqi a few times. He was a proper gentleman, gentle and refined. Every word and action followed propriety. Seeing that he lacked the dissolute habits common among young masters of noble families, she felt at ease and peacefully awaited the marriage. After all, when two people live together, character is what matters most, especially since Shen Yanqi was truly a handsome young man whose family background and demeanor were beyond reproach. Before the rumors about him and Lu Xianxian spread through the streets, she had always been quite fond of him. She had imagined sharing a life with him, growing old together. After all, in this world, what young maiden doesn't harbor such dreams? When news came that Shen Yanqi had been disciplined by his family, she immediately sensed something was wrong. The Shen family had strict traditions. All these years, they hadn't even arranged a single chambermaid for Shen Yanqi. They would never tolerate the slightest misstep from her before the wedding. The Shen elders always conducted themselves discreetly. Now, their most cherished youngest son had instead become the subject of street gossip. It gave people grounds for criticism, both publicly and privately. The Shen family patriarch must have been absolutely furious. To be honest, in her heart, she was deeply grateful to the patriarch for venting some of her own pent-up frustration. But then again, from Shen Yanqi's perspective, what had he done wrong? He had merely solved a few cases. He had merely used some strategy to lure the snake out of its hole. The reason he had to stage a fake marriage was because the bandits specifically targeted new brides. Even if it hadn't been Lu Xianxian, it would have been someone else. Perhaps a female constable, or some other young woman asked to play the part. As for his subsequent interactions with Lu Xianxian, they were all for official business. There's no rule in this world that says a man who's engaged can't speak to other women. He couldn't just abandon his duties to uphold propriety between men and women, leaving cases unresolved, or even submit his resignation and retire and return home. He couldn't do that. That opera wasn't his creation. He didn't order it to be spread all over town. Even if he were peerless in martial arts and wielded immense power, he could control heaven and earth, but he couldn't control others' hands and mouths. So what exactly did he do wrong? Yet he still ended up getting whipped with the cane. If before this, he was only 50% invested in Lu Xianxian, now, after being pressured by his family like this, the scales in his heart have likely tipped towards Lu Xianxian. She sighed inwardly. Those 30 lashes actually fell upon his engagement with Shen Yanqi. She arranged to meet Shen Yanqi at a tea house. It's rather ironic, when you think about it. They've been engaged for 3 years, yet they've never once met privately, just the two of them alone. Most of the time, it was only at various banquets, where men and women sat separately. Occasionally, they'd run into each other before entering, and exchange nothing more than a distant nod, acknowledging his presence. That alone made her feel at ease. Who would have thought their first private meeting would be to discuss his romantic rumors with another woman? Shen Yanqi was always punctual. When he arrived, she had just finished pouring 2 cups of tea. His lips were pale, suggesting his wounds hadn't fully healed yet. She invited him to try the tea she had personally brewed. Her tea-making skills were learned from Master Lu. Preparing the leaves, grinding, boiling the water, she didn't skip a single step. Sure enough, after Shen Yanqi took a sip, he praised, "Excellent tea. Excellent tea deserves a good show." Several new operas have become popular in the capital lately. I wonder if you've seen them. Young Master Shen? Miss Lin, please speak plainly. Do you want to marry Lu Xianxian? Forgive my bluntness, but she's a woman of the Jianghu. She's not a suitable match for you. At these words, Shen Yanqi's expression completely darkened. Shen Yanqi was 3 years her senior. He came from a distinguished family, and had shown remarkable talents since his youth. The point she wanted to make, Shen Yanqi understood better than anyone. There was really no need for her to say more. Among the noble families of the capital, when arranging marriages for their children, the foremost consideration is social standing. Cases like a young lady falling for a farmhand, or the eldest grandson marrying a courtesan, are exceedingly rare. After all, families like theirs are all backed by powerful clans. The relationships between these great houses are intricate. Lu Xianxian was a child of the martial world, living by her own code, unfettered and free. She would never demean herself to become a concubine. If she married, it would be as the principal wife. But the Shen family would never accept a female bandit as their matriarch. If they insisted on being together, their path ahead would be fraught with hardship. She, however, was different. She was the legitimate daughter raised with the full resources of the Lin clan. Well-versed in poetry and classics, her reputation spread far and wide. Noble ladies in the capital all saw her as a model. She spent years studying to master the art of brewing exquisite tea. She was deeply knowledgeable in managing a household. She knew how to socialize with other ladies. She could identify every rare and precious incense on the market. With a brush, she could paint vast landscapes. With her sleeves rolled up, she could play moving melodies. She was precisely the kind of young woman most favored within the circle. In truth, she and Shen Yanqi were a match made in heaven, a perfectly suited pair. Shen Yanqi remained silent, so she too fell quiet. Her gaze dropped to the ripples in her teacup. Lu Xianxian would not be a concubine, and she would certainly not yield the position of principal wife. She was waiting for Shen Yanqi to give her a clear answer. After about half an incense stick's time had passed, Shen Yanqi's expression suddenly softened. Lost in some thought, a faint smile touched his lips. In that moment, she knew she had already lost Shen Yanqi. Their meetings had been few, and their interactions always polite and formal. This rigid, rule-bound courtship held nothing that would warrant such a heartfelt smile from him. She let out a long sigh. Then she spoke. "It seems you've already made your decision." Shen Yanqi stood up and bowed to her solemnly. "My apologies. I, Shen, have truly failed you, Miss Lin." A single, lightly spoken apology was about to alter the course of a woman's life. She gave a cold laugh in her heart, straightening her back. "Since you wish to break the engagement, and you wronged me first, this marriage arrangement must be called off by our Lin family to your Shen family. The specifics of the annulment, please have your family send someone to discuss with my elders." Shen Yanqi gave a slight nod. He accepted her request. She held onto her maid's arm and walked out. As she passed by Shen Yanqi's side, she paused. "Young Master Shen, do you truly like Lu Xianxian, or do you just enjoy defying the whole world? The thrill of breaking free from worldly shackles." The reason she specifically sought out Shen Yanqi was merely a sliver of hope. She hoped Shen Yanqi would face reality and sever these improper affections, so everything could return to normal. To treat Lu Xianxian as nothing but a fleeting dream. After all, as she had said before, Shen Yanqi's family background and connections made him an impeccable match. While there are many young masters in the capital, there are also many noble daughters from great families. Rational, kind, and ambitious young men are mostly already spoken for, their engagements set. Now that she's past the age of 15, to find another as good as Shen Yanqi would be difficult. Society has always been harsher on women. A woman who's had an engagement broken is ultimately looked down upon. When her mother heard she was determined to break off the engagement with Shen Yanqi, the usually gentle and dignified matriarch lost her composure for the first time in her life. Her daughter was raised with utmost care, well-educated, and reasonable, well-versed in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, not inferior to anyone in the slightest. Yet she had the misfortune of meeting the wrong man. Her daughter did nothing wrong. She was just peacefully embroidering at home. She woke up one day only to become a laughingstock in their circle because of Shen Yanqi's romantic rumors. Now she's to become a woman with a broken engagement, subject to gossip for no reason. Her father works in the Ministry of Revenue, holding the power to allocate funds and grain. To discreetly make things difficult for the Shen family would be as easy as turning his hand. The Shen family was in the wrong first. They couldn't voice their grievances. They had no choice but to swallow this bitter pill. As for the invitations to ladies' gatherings she received, for a time, they were too many to count. The circle of noble daughters in the capital is only so big. A few of them didn't get along with her. Those people specifically organized these gatherings just to see her make a fool of herself. But she thought it was just losing a good marriage prospect, leaving a man whose heart belonged to another. When it comes down to it, she did nothing wrong. Why should she be ashamed to show her face? She remained calm as usual and attended every single invitation. During the gatherings, some deliberately mocked her, saying she thought herself a heaven-sent noble lady, putting on airs of purity. Usually wouldn't even touch a game of cards. Yet in the end, lost to some lowly female thief. She looked toward the sound. It was Zhou Ruowei, the daughter of the vice minister. At the last hairpin flower banquet, Zhou Ruowei had also played the zither with her, but she failed to win the princess's praise. She retorted said calmly, Lu Xianxian is no ordinary thief. Her qinggong is peerless. She's sharp as a tack, surpassing countless women in this world. So you know yourself to be rigid and dull. It seems losing to her is something you accept. Lu Xianxian is great, sure, but her being great doesn't prove I'm not. She is, of course, the finest lady in the world. The streets were still bustling, but inside the carriage, on the way back, it was unusually quiet. Her maid Qinghe held back again and again, but finally couldn't restrain herself. She said indignantly, Miss, why did you say Lu Xianxian was good? She, clearly, not only did she ruin your marriage arrangement, but a proper young lady who isn't even married yet would never call someone darling or husband in public like that. I wanted to say her behavior was indecent and her words frivolous. But if I paint her as utterly worthless, then what does it say about me losing to her? She has her own pride. Looking from afar, they were still performing today the short opera of Qinzhao and Yin Ke. A young attendant came forward and eagerly asked her if she wished to go inside and watch. He said there were private rooms on the second floor. She waved her hand. A wave of bitterness surged in her heart. Suddenly, she felt rather weary. Since the broken engagement, in front of her parents and friends, she had pretended to be carefree everywhere, afraid of becoming a laughingstock. Sometimes she even had to comfort her mother instead. From start to finish, she hadn't shed a single tear. But in a blink, somehow, she nearly let tears fall. She waved her hand again, telling the attendant she didn't care for operas. Other people's romantic entanglements aren't worth watching. Now, regarding marriage, she's in an awkward position. Mother's idea is to wait until after the new year to make plans. We must try to pick someone of good character, investigate his reputation thoroughly. There's no need to rush. Mother considers everything for her. Marriage is a matter that should follow the parents' arrangements. Naturally, she had no objections. Her mother had always hoped she would live a smooth and peaceful life. Yet, no one could have foreseen that this delay would lead to unforeseen trouble. At the New Year's palace banquet, the emperor decided to arrange a marriage for the long-unwed General Jing Yuan. With a casual point of his finger, the imperial decree fell upon her head, heavy as a mountain. General Jingyuan, Shaoxi, originally named Shaoxitu, hailed from Qingzhou. A few years ago, when unrest broke out in the northwest, the court dispatched Grand General Zhao Chengyi to campaign against the Turks. Shaoxitu was exceptionally brave, having once saved the Grand General's life on the battlefield. Although he came from an unorthodox background and was completely illiterate, he possessed an extraordinary talent for overcoming any obstacle and countering any move. The Grand General, recognizing him as a rare talent, personally taught him military strategy and even changed his name to Xiaosa, meaning to devise strategies within the command tent and secure victory 1,000 miles away. This became a celebrated tale for a time. After that, Shaoxi remained stationed in the northwest and had only recently been transferred back to the capital. Who could have imagined that his return would result in him becoming the husband bestowed upon her by the emperor? Her mother was filled with regret. She hadn't been in a hurry to find a match for her daughter earlier because she feared gossip that the Lin family's daughter was desperate to marry, which would be seen as lacking propriety. Shaoxi was, after all, from a humble background, and a military man. While he was renowned as a god of war in the army, marrying a military officer wouldn't normally be considered a major issue. However, when her mother was young, she had two very close childhood friends, and both of them also married military officers. One friend's husband was belligerent and had a severe drinking problem. When she tried to advise him kindly, she was met with physical abuse. That lovely young woman met an early, tragic end. The other friend's husband, though honest and kind, unfortunately died in battle during a campaign, leaving his widow to live out most of her life in solitude. Having witnessed the fates of her two dear friends, her mother was naturally apprehensive. Therefore, when selecting a husband for her daughter, she never once considered a military man. As for her own private preferences, she also favored scholarly, refined literati. Who could have predicted that fate would play such a cruel trick? This imperial marriage could not be refused under any circumstances. Her father had secretly made things difficult for the Shen family. The emperor, with his far-reaching awareness, certainly knew the details. It was only because the Lin family had justifiable reasons that the emperor chose to turn a blind eye. But the marriage to Xiaosa was personally bestowed by the emperor. How could they possibly refuse? To take a step back, even if they could refuse, backing out of two marriages in a row would leave the Lin family with no dignity left to remain in the capital. If she did not marry, her younger half-sisters still needed to arrange their own marriages. She couldn't let her own marital situation ruin her siblings' reputations. She had no choice but to start embroidering her wedding dress. Being cooped up in the manor all day was bound to get dull. Now that the weather was warming up, she went out with her maid, Qinghe. After trying a few shades at the rouge shop, she originally planned to visit the jewelry store next. Like a whirlwind, It thundered past down the street. She was jostled to the side of the road by the crowd. Before she could dodge away, she got a mouthful of dust kicked up by the horse's hooves. Before she could even catch her breath, the group of riders turned their horses around and came back. A horse's hooves reared high, only to be reined in by a single hand from a tall figure. Man and horse blocked her path. They even seemed to blot out the daylight, casting the surroundings into shadow. The man sat tall on his horse. His eyes were sharp and bright, his nose prominent, his brows thick. He leaned forward slightly, studying her for a moment. Then he nodded and said, "You are quite a beauty. Are you insane? Harassing a common girl? You dare harass my young lady? Do you even know who she is?" "If I didn't know, why would I have come back for a look?" He laughed, and the soldiers behind him joined in with raucous laughter. The sound of their laughter buzzed, making the very air seem to tremble. The commoners along the street dared not linger to watch. The entire street cleared out in an instant. Making comments about a noble lady in public? This man is truly wild and untamed, arrogant and rude. Qinghe was both embarrassed and furious. She was desperate to protect her mistress, but the other side had strength in numbers. For a moment, she didn't know what to do. Seeing Qinghe was about to cry, she pressed her lips together. She stepped forward, shielding Qinghe behind her. She looked at the man on the horse, and spoke with neither humility nor arrogance. "Thank you for the compliment on my looks, General. In my opinion, General Shao's horsemanship is also quite impressive. As for the legendary 28 riders of the black armor, their military discipline is indeed strict, living up to their reputation." Her words were laced with sarcasm and barbs. The expression on the man on horseback gradually darkened. He raised his hand slightly. The soldiers behind him immediately fell into formation and silence. The general in black armor then spoke. "How did you know I am Shaoxi, Miss Lin? With an imperial decree and a marriage contract in place, I dare not be ignorant. If you have no further business, General, it's getting late. I should return to the manor." Shaoxi raised his hand in a signal. She then turned and walked back a few steps. She reached the intersection and looked back once more. Shaoxi and his entourage had already vanished at the end of the long street. She quietly let out a sigh of relief. Only then did she realize her back was already soaked in cold sweat. In this arranged marriage, she had actually never seen what Shaoxi looked like. Just now, she merely heard his words, "If I didn't know, why would I have come?" So she decided to take a gamble. Luck was on her side. She had won the bet. But Shaoxi was tall and imposing, and his manner was so unconventional. It was just as the rumors said. He was indeed a man of rough origins. Back when she was engaged to Shen Yanqi, the husband she had imagined was also that kind of refined gentleman. Thinking again of Shaoxi's earlier rude and abrupt behavior, she let out a soft sigh. "Oh, Your Majesty, what kind of marriage have you arranged for her?" When spring was at its peak, she married Shaoxi as scheduled. A centuries-old noble family was marrying into the court's new rising star, and it was a royal decree. The capital hadn't seen such a grand wedding in a long time. Every family of any standing was present to offer congratulations. The house was filled with guests. Her mother personally did her makeup. Even though she was deeply unhappy, at this moment, her mother sincerely wished her a smooth and happy marriage. As her mother combed her long hair, tears welled up in her eyes. With the first comb, "May your marriage last a lifetime." With the second, "May you grow old together." With the third, "May you be blessed with many children." Her young cousin, innocent and sweet, was nibbling on a candy figurine. She didn't understand why her aunt was smiling and crying. While her mother turned away, she leaned close to her ear and whispered mysteriously, "Don't worry, cousin. I just sneaked out earlier and took a look for you. Your husband-to-be is really handsome. Don't be silly. You don't believe me? Go see for yourself and you'll know. He looks exactly like the man in the painting." She thought to herself, she had already seen him. He was no man from a painting. Right at that moment, firecrackers exploded. The wedding matron announced the auspicious hour had arrived. The large red veil drifted lightly down over her head. The world was now a sea of crimson. A length of red silk was offered from ahead. It came to a steady stop before her. Shaoxi had come to fetch his bride. He paused for a moment, then calmly led her out. The joyful sound of firecrackers popped by her ears. For some reason, the more she was blinded by the veil, the more she wanted to peek at her surroundings. She had only ever seen him on horseback before, exuding an untamed wildness. Now, unable to see, and being led by him with a red silk ribbon, her steps were surprisingly steady. But even the slowest path must come to an end. Before leaving home, she always thought the minister's estate was vast and spacious. Now, on her wedding day, veiled, it suddenly felt so small. Following Shaoxi's steps through 2 corridors, they reached the end in just a few short steps. Arriving beside the bridal sedan, a sudden wave of reluctance washed over her. Tears nearly spilled from her eyes. She reminded herself this was her joyous wedding day. Her mother had personally applied her makeup. She absolutely must not cry and ruin it. So she parted her lips slightly, daring only to sob quietly and hold back. She sensed the man beside her take the chance while lifting the sedan curtain to bend down. A faint scent of wine instantly enveloped her. Then came his low voice. "Don't be afraid." Her heart skipped 2 beats. But then she thought, there really was nothing to fear. Both her parents were alive and well. After returning home after the wedding, she could always come back to visit. Her father was a civil official. Xiaoxi was a military official. Both were important ministers at court. All the civil and military officials had come to offer congratulations. From the front hall came the occasional roar of guests' laughter. Candlelight flickered. Only when frogs began croaking outside did Xiaoxi finally come to the bridal chamber. He carried the fresh scent of soap. The veil was lifted inch by inch. The man's features gradually came into focus. His nose was high and straight. His eye sockets were deep. Up close, she could see a small protrusion on his brow bone. It was an old scar. If the scar had been an inch higher, it would have injured his eye. One could imagine how fierce the battle must have been. She blinked twice. Coming back to her senses, she realized the man before her had shaved off his full beard. Looking like this, he truly lived up to the word handsome from her little cousin. But while he could shave his beard, he couldn't shave off his rough, untamed aura. Xiaoxi, by the lamplight, stared at her intently. His gaze was downright brazen. He stared until she lowered her head. Unable to help herself, she spoke. That rare bit of consideration he showed during the wedding procession had completely vanished by now. Xiaoxi said brazenly, "The emperor himself bestowed the 8-carriage sedan chair. You're my properly wedded wife. What's wrong with looking? Besides, you're beautiful." Even if he holds a third-rank official post, he's still a brute at heart. None of the noble sons she knew were as rude as him, and no one dared speak to her like that. She was both embarrassed and furious. "If you keep looking, I'll put out the light." "Putting out the light? My wife is more eager than I am." "Then go ahead." When it came to a battle of words, she was no match for him. She simply turned her face away and ignored him. Xiaoxi took 2 steps forward and sat down. He sat down. It was originally a spacious canopy bed, but the moment he sat, the bed inexplicably seemed smaller, even a bit cramped. She had never been this close to a man before, especially since she wasn't even familiar with Xiaoxi. She clenched her hands and subtly shifted to the side. Xiaoxi obviously noticed. He curled one corner of his lips. "You're scared. I am not." The red bed curtains slowly fell. A hairpin gently swayed. A strand of dark hair cascaded down like a waterfall, advancing step by step, conquering territory. In a brief pause amidst the storm, Xiaoxi's movements halted. He said, "Don't be afraid." Early the next morning, Xiaoxi stood by the window, quietly watching her do her makeup. He was bathed in the dawn's first faint light. His shoulders were broad and straight as a pine. He looked satisfied, but she couldn't feel the slightest bit of joy. After last night's humiliating experience, which was utterly rough and crude, how could anyone be happy? If not for the emperor's decree, she would never have married such a crude man. Xiaoxi seemed to sense her displeasure. He strode to her side and picked a beaded flower from her jewelry box, about to pin it in her hair. But he clearly wasn't used to such delicate work. She gasped in pain. All her usual ladylike manners were thrown out the window. She couldn't help but sneer. "General Shao, this is your wife's hair, not the enemy's on the battlefield, is it?" Xiaoxi looked rather sheepish. This man, usually so brash and unrestrained, actually muttered a soft apology. "I'll be gentler next time." It was unclear if he meant putting on the hairpin or something else from last night. Xiaoxi came from a humble background. His parents passed away early, during the turmoil in the northwest, leaving behind only his widowed sister-in-law, Lucy. Now she lived with him in the general's manor. As the eldest brother's wife, she was like a mother to him. During their wedding ceremony, they should have bowed to her as the elder. Unfortunately, Lucy pleaded illness and declined. This morning, they were to go pay their respects to this widowed sister-in-law. Ever since she first met Xiaoxi, he had always been this reckless, fearless sort of ruffian. But now, about to serve tea to his sister-in-law, he looked troubled, even a bit awkward. "My sister-in-law, if she offends you in any way, let me apologize on her behalf first. Please bear with her." Xiaoxi's elder sister-in-law, Lucy. She had heard a little about her before the marriage. Xiaoxi had remained unmarried all these years. Matchmakers had come with proposals, but Lucy never found any of the girls suitable. So the marriage kept getting delayed, until the emperor bestowed this marriage. Only then did Lucy fall silent, and stopped her objections. She also heard that a few days before the wedding, Lucy had fallen ill, complaining of aches and pains all over. It was so bad Xiaoxi had to take leave to personally tend to her for 2 days. Only then did she recover somewhat. Anyone with eyes could see that Lucy harbored some inappropriate feelings for Xiaoxi, but given their positions, even if she had such thoughts, she had to suppress them. This was precisely why her mother had insisted on choosing Shen Yanqi for her. The Shen family was honorable for generations, their reputation spotless. Their household was also clean and harmonious, if not for that Lu Qianqian appearing out of nowhere. But in this life, things rarely go exactly as planned. It's hard for everything to be perfect. She sighed softly, pushing down that twinge of regret in her heart. She asked Xiaoxi seriously, "Do you truly want to build a life with me?" Their marriage was decreed by the emperor. In the future, even if they wanted to separate, they couldn't. They'd be bound together for life. Xiaoxi was taken aback and asked in return, "What kind of question is that? Who gets married not wanting a good life? Then explain it to me clearly. What exactly is going on between you and your sister-in-law?" Xiaoxi rubbed his temples. His expression grew even more awkward. He was momentarily speechless. "It's not that I don't want to tell you. I just don't know how to say it. When my elder brother passed away, he entrusted his widow to my care. I was just a lowly soldier back then. Whenever I had time, I'd help her chop some firewood, fetch some water. If it happened to be around mealtime, I'd sometimes eat at her place. I was young and foolish, didn't know to avoid impropriety. Over time, she misunderstood my intentions. I've tried to explain it to her many times over the years, but she just won't listen to reason. Anyway, it's my fault for not handling it well. So, looking at it now, it's a case of unrequited love." Her feelings were one-sided. She nodded. Her impression of Xiaoxi improved somewhat. "Since she's your sister-in-law, and she's been kind to you, we should make proper arrangements for her. Now that we've cleared the air, there are no more secrets between us, husband and wife." With that, she instructed Qinghe to prepare some gifts as a token of respect. Inside the Lotus Breeze Pavilion, she finally saw Madame Lu's true face. Madame Lu had a slightly dark complexion. Judging by her appearance, she was at most in her late 20s. Yet she was dressed in dark clothes unsuitable for her age, making her look unnecessarily old and severe. She reclined on the bed, a silk handkerchief in her hand half covering her mouth and nose, looking as if she had just recovered from a serious illness. Watching her start to boil water for tea, a hint of disdain flashed in Madame Lu's eyes. She spoke up. "Back in the Northwest, we didn't have such luxuries. Forget about tea leaves. Having a pot of clean water was a luxury. A delicate lady like you, sister-in-law, must be unaccustomed to hardship. Everyone says the capital is wonderful, but I always miss the days I spent with Erlang in the Northwest. Life was hard, but at least there was genuine affection. Back then." Xiaoxi frowned and cut her off. "Now that life is better, why keep dwelling on the hardships?" Madame Lu coughed lightly upon hearing this. She twisted the handkerchief in her hands tightly. She said resentfully, "Right, your life is good now. Why should I mention the past? I'm the only one who remembers those days anyway." Seeing the atmosphere grow increasingly awkward, she quickly stepped in to smooth things over. "My husband had a difficult childhood. Thank you for looking after him, sister-in-law. If you truly miss the Northwest so much, sister-in-law, perhaps we could renovate the old family home in Qingzhou. You could go back for a short stay, visit the old neighbors. That might be nice." Madame Lu's hand, clutching the handkerchief, suddenly stilled. She said, "Why waste money on travel? Besides, the journey is exhausting. In my current health, I couldn't handle it. Speaking of which, now that I'm in the capital, I have no other family here. I can only rely on Erlang. I'm old and useless now. I just hope I'm not a burden to you." "What are you talking about? What do you mean, unwanted? You're treating me like an outsider. From now on, Wanqing's relatives are your relatives. When we have time, we should visit more often. You've had a hard life before, but now I absolutely won't let you suffer anymore. Wanqing has a few male cousins, all outstanding men. Once you're feeling better, we'll go meet them. There really is nothing better than that in the world." Madame Lu's expression suddenly changed. She forced an awkward smile. She dismissed them with a few words, then claimed she was tired and needed rest. She and Xiaoxi then took their leave. Just as they passed through the corridor, they faintly heard crying from Fenghe courtyard. She glanced at Xiaoxi. Madame Lu was Xiaoxi's only living relative, and she had him firmly under her thumb. Even an honest official can't settle family disputes. She sighed softly and asked, "Do you trust me?" "I do. If you trust me, then from now on, leave your sister-in-law to me. Don't worry, I'll be good to her." From then on, she often went to Fenghe courtyard to chat with Madame Lu. As a woman herself, she could actually understand Madame Lu's situation and feelings. Madame Lu's husband died young. Naturally, she wanted someone caring by her side. And there was Xiaoxi, right there. He chopped wood and carried water for her. They knew each other well, and now he held power. All her resentment was simply because she was born into the wrong role. She was his sister-in-law. sister-in-law. That title was suffocating. At 26 or 27, an age when one loves beauty, she was forced to wear dark, somber clothes. Trapping herself like this also held others back. She insisted on making tea with Madame Lu. She told her stories about the capital. Madame Lu never grew truly close to her. Her words were often laced with veiled sarcasm. The gist was always that she was a spoiled capital lady, unable to endure any hardship. Unlike herself, who had suffered every hardship with Shaoxi. Only after great struggle did they reach this point. She just smiled faintly, not arguing with Madame Lu. Once Madame Lu gradually learned how to brew tea, she took her to a silk shop. She had already had a new dress made for Madame Lu. The fabric was of the finest quality. Lilac is the color that best suits Lu Shi's complexion, and the pattern was the latest fashion in the capital. She could tell Lu Shi was pleased, but the other woman insisted on putting on a front. She picked out a dowdy, olive green fabric, claiming it was to save Shaoxi some money, as if being frugal and thrifty made her somehow superior. She pretended not to notice Lu Shi's awkwardness. Her eyes flickered thoughtfully. Then she spoke up to persuade her. You've endured so much hardship with your husband. Now, spending a few dollars of his money is only right and proper. He works so hard on the battlefield to earn money for the women at home to spend. With that, she snatched the olive green fabric from Lu Shi's hands and pushed her, along with the tailored lilac dress, into the fitting room. When Lu Shi came out in the new dress, she praised her sincerely. You look lovely. You should have dressed like this long ago. Lu Shi probably hadn't worn such a bright, beautiful dress in years. She looked down at the skirt, then at her. Having taught Lu Shi proper etiquette and gotten her into suitable clothes, she took Lu Shi to a banquet for the capital's noble ladies. As the general's manor's first lady, Lu Shi had received many such invitations before, but she looked down on the delicate, pampered ways of those noble ladies, and had always refused to socialize. Now, attending a banquet with her was a first. She was open and gracious, introducing Lu Shi to each of her close friends. She spoke of how her husband had a difficult youth, and how Lu Shi had supported him all along. Now, as the general's manor's first lady, she still upheld frugality, a true model for women. These were the words Lu Shi loved to hear most. She was happy to say them, and Lu Shi was happy to listen. Liu Shi turned her face away slightly and demurred quietly. Actually, I didn't do that much. On the carriage ride back, she lounged lazily, not wanting to move a muscle. But Lu Shi sat upright and proper. She lifted the carriage curtain halfway. After about the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, Lu Shi let the curtain fall, and spoke, as if to herself. After this banquet, the entire capital will know I am the general's manor's first lady. But this banquet... You're also the lady of the general's manor. It was foolish of me to think you were actually helping me. Only now do I understand why you introduced me to others. Madame Lu's voice trembled with emotion, full of resentment. Now the entire capital knows I'm the lady of the general's manor. What future can he and I possibly have? You have such a cruel heart to harm me like this. What kind of future do you and he want? She looked at Madame Lu with keen interest. You were Shaoxi's elder sister-in-law before, and you will remain his elder sister-in-law. If he marries, you are his elder sister-in-law. If he doesn't marry, you are still his elder sister-in-law. Dear sister-in-law, what kind of future are you truly hoping for? Madame Lu abruptly fell silent. 2 streams of tears rolled down her cheeks. It was the first time she had cried in front of her. Weeping bitterly, Madame Lu began to ramble on again about the hardships she endured in the Northwest, saying she was lucky, born into wealth and luxury, never suffering a day in her life, and just waltzed into being the general's wife. She said Shaoxi was once so good to her, but somehow, his heart changed later. He stopped eating the meals she prepared, even kept his distance from her. How could there be such a heartless man in this world? She spoke, in a calm tone. Shaoxi is not a heartless man. If he were, he wouldn't have brought you to the capital. It's precisely because he values loyalty so much that he strictly followed his elder brother's wishes and cared for you so attentively. Because he values loyalty, he holds duty and propriety close to his heart, not daring to stray one step from them. The truth of the matter, sister-in-law, can you truly not understand? Madame Lu covered her face, sobbing quietly, but her eyes still held a trace of defiance. I stayed by second brother's side. We endured every hardship together. What right do you have? You never suffered alongside him. At today's banquet, that woman in the yellow floral dress. Did you notice her? She changed the subject and asked. Madame Lu's sobs halted. She asked, puzzled, why are you bringing her up? That's the young lady from the Duke's estate. When she was 14, her father and brothers all died in battle, leaving behind only a younger brother under 10. To uphold the family's honor, her grandfather arranged for her to marry a powerful minister at court as a second wife. And the girl wearing pink today, sitting in the corner. These high society tea parties used to be her favorite thing to host. But look at today. Who's actively talking to her? It's because her family recently had a mishap. That's just how Shangjing City is. Unpredictable and treacherous. Wealth and status can change overnight. She looked at Madame Lu. Her tone was calm. Sister-in-law, I know you look down on the noble ladies of Shangjing. You think they can't endure hardship, can't shoulder burdens. But in this world, who doesn't have their own struggles? As for me, sister-in-law, you always think I took advantage of your second son. Xiaoxi is only a third-rank official, a rank lower than my father. Not to mention the Lin family's century-old legacy. This marriage, if you really calculate it, is actually me marrying beneath my station. Having said that, an image of Xiaoxi suddenly appeared in her mind. She closed her eyes slightly, remembering the night they consummated the marriage. What she felt were those large and small scars on his waist and stomach. An inexplicable pang of heartache rose in her chest. Sister-in-law, you often say you endured hardship with Xiaoxi. Then you should know how difficult it was for him to reach where he is today. Those censors are always watching for others' mistakes to attack. If you truly care for your second son, then look forward. Xiaoxi has married the wife he should marry. What's done is done. Your constant resentment and entanglement only hold you back. What good does that do? Madame Lu remained silent for a long time, her hands still covering her face, her voice filled with resentment and grievance. Why, I got nothing. How could I have gotten nothing? You are the first madam of the general's estate. Who dares speak ill of you? His comrades who died in battle still have money sent regularly to their families. He has never forgotten these debts of gratitude. Sister-in-law, even if you don't mention those hardships, he won't forget you, nor will he treat you poorly. Besides, she smiled gently. Her voice was full of genuine praise. Besides, the 3-year mourning period is over. You look really good in lilac. Don't you like it? After that, Madame Lu truly changed. She discarded those old-fashioned fabrics and had new, bright seasonal clothes tailored. Not long after, Xiaoxi sought her out. What kind of magic did you use on my sister-in-law? Xiaoxi had grown a full beard again. She found it annoying. She said irritably, I helped you win over your sister-in-law. How will you repay me? Xiaoxi, for once, dropped his joking demeanor. He asked with a serious expression, what do you want? Anything under heaven, I'll find it for you. It was something she said offhandedly, but Xiaoxi took it seriously. Help me with my eyebrows. Xiaoxi was supposed to go to the military camp. His uniform was neat and imposing, accentuating his rugged aura. Hearing this, he took the eyebrow pencil. By the morning light from the window, she had seen him wield a sword. A heavy sword she couldn't even lift with both hands. It could cleave through enemy armor with one strike. But now, a light eyebrow pencil in his hand remained motionless for a long time. She grew impatient waiting. She lifted her gaze to urge him, only to see this rugged man with the tips of his ears secretly flushed red. Xiaoxi said softly, I don't know how. Her heart skipped a beat unexpectedly. When she spoke again, her tone was a bit stiff. You don't? Then learn. Xiaoxi nodded firmly. I will learn. I hope you'll teach me, madam. For some reason, her heart started racing uncontrollably again. I can teach you. From now on, shave off that beard. She refused to fall for a wild man with a full beard. In the blink of an eye, autumn frost reddened the fallen leaves. A servant from the Shen family delivered a wedding invitation. The eldest son of the Shen family was getting married. His bride-to-be was Lu Xianxian. That the two of them would end up together was something she had long anticipated. She just pondered to herself how the wedding feast should be arranged. Lu Xianxian had no respectable family on her side, and sitting alongside the Shen family's distinguished relatives would likely be difficult. When she and Xiaoxi got married, the Shen family had also sent gifts. Following the gift list from that year, she opened the storeroom and selected items of equivalent value to send in return. Shen Yanqi's wedding banquet. It wasn't convenient for her to attend personally. She only gave the prepared gift to Xiaoxi. Xiaoxi took the gift. He snorted coldly. Why send him something so expensive? As the saying goes, it's the thought that counts. You both serve in the court. You should interact more, he advised gently. What's the point of interacting? When I first arrived in the capital, I also heard a few operas. Hearing Xiaoxi speak up for her like this, a warmth flowed through her heart. She cut him off with a smile. If he hadn't made that choice, how would we have met? Xiaoxi was still fuming. Carrying the gift, he went to Shen Yanqi's wedding banquet. But ever since returning from the banquet, he had become secretive, often locking himself in his study, not allowing anyone in or out, especially not allowing her inside. She didn't know what Xiaoxi was doing in the study, but as husband and wife, respect for each other is essential. She only instructed his attendant to go to the kitchen every night and bring a bowl of ginseng tea to the study, until one late night, she woke from her sleep, hearing the person beside her murmuring in her sleep. Xiaoxi muttered, a gentleman is not a vessel. She almost thought she'd misheard. A gentleman is not a vessel. How could those words come from Xiaoxi's mouth? She leaned in closer, listening carefully. Xiaoxi had indeed said those exact 4 words. Thinking of his recent strange behavior, her heart stirred. As if she understood something, she threw on a robe and got up, carrying an oil lamp. She walked slowly towards the study. Xiaoxi had long been in the military. Even his study was arranged like a barracks, simple and austere. Inside, there was only a desk and a chair. The bookshelves were mostly empty. The desk was cluttered with many books. Besides the military strategies he excelled at, there were the 4 books and 5 classics, and histories of previous dynasties. The pages on military strategy were worn and yellowed, but a few Confucian texts were only half-worn, clearly read only recently. One line of poetry was marked. She leaned in for a closer look. It read, "When the time comes to rise from my retreat, it's never too late to aid the common people." Rise from my retreat. These 4 words were heavily circled, as if their meaning puzzled him. Seeing this, what else was there not to understand? Xiaoxi was secretly teaching himself to read and write. A pang of bitterness rose in her heart. Suddenly, she recalled an old story. Xiaoxi, in the past, had been completely illiterate. Madame Lu always loved to talk about the hardships of the Northwest, but Xiaoxi always brushed it off lightly. About the difficulties of the Northwest, he had never spoken a single word to anyone. Back in the army barracks, during breaks, everyone else was out having fun. Xiaoxi stayed behind, quietly learning to read. He needed to read to write military orders. That's how he fought his way up, from nothing to where he is today. Women from noble families like her start their education at 5 or 6 years old. They even have private tutors come to their homes. Xiaoxi must have started learning very late, and without a proper teacher to guide him, I can't imagine how, with sheer determination, he managed to learn it all. Her heart ached with a pang of sorrow. She found a chair and sat down. She added more oil to the lamp and began annotating the verses he had circled. Compared to the great scholars of our time, her knowledge naturally falls far short, but it's more than enough to explain things to Xiaoxi. The book of poetry was thin, but the questions Xiaoxi had marked were many. She focused, dipped her brush in ink, and wrote through the entire night without realizing it, until dawn broke. Xiaoxi rushed in wearing only his inner garments, his face filled with panic. "What are you doing here? I woke up and you were gone. I heard you muttering, 'A gentleman is not a vessel,' in your sleep, so I thought I'd check the study." Xiaoxi suddenly let her go. He rushed to the desk in a few strides, frantically gathering the books and papers on the table. "Don't overthink it. I just suddenly wanted to study. After all, I serve in court now. How long were you going to hide this from me? This is nothing to be ashamed of. I've met Shen Yanxi. He is truly remarkable. He's both scholarly and skilled in martial arts. I didn't want you to feel you settled for less by marrying me." When I first saw Xiaoxi, he was galloping through the streets leading the 28 riders in black armor, so dashing and spirited. Yet now, comparing himself to another, he's filled with such insecurity. Shen Yanxi is excellent, but my husband is no less. My husband enlisted as a youth. Of those who joined the army the same year, how many survived? Of those who survived, how many earned military merits? Of those who earned merits, how many rose to the 3rd rank? Out of thousands, only my husband achieved this. With such illustrious military achievements, what reason do I have to feel wronged? Xiaoxi gazed at her quietly. For a long moment, he embraced her once more. How fortunate I am to have such a wife. In the blink of an eye, a year passed. She became pregnant, and Madame Lu found a new joy, sewing tiger head shoes every single day. She, a native of the Northwest, had somehow mastered the art of authentic Shoujo embroidery. Xiaoxi would line up every day to buy her sour plum drink on Chang'an Street. One day, the shop closed early. Before he could even take off his armor, he went straight to the vendor's home and paid 10 times the price to get the drink. This story spread throughout the capital, but she was the only one kept in the dark. It wasn't until her mother wrote a letter telling her to rein in her husband and stop his reckless behavior that she finally learned of it. She got angry at Xiaoxi, but he endured it all without a word, which only infuriated her even more. Yet the sour plum drink was still delivered to her every single day. When she was 6 months pregnant, Xiaoxi received military orders to go south and suppress bandits. As he was packing his things, "My wife still needs her sour plum drink. Once I'm gone, who will buy it for her? I stopped having morning sickness long ago. I can do without the sour plum drink. But what if my wife gets a craving for roast chicken or goose in the middle of the night? Your wife is just pregnant, not a gluttonous beast." Xiaoxi leaned in closer. "Are you really that willing to let me go?" She couldn't help but laugh. Her laughter caused the character she was writing to go crooked. Xiaoxi picked up the paper and saw a neatly written character for fortune. "The world marvels at the verse. The great rock soars 90,000 li with the wind, praising the profound meaning of the character C in his name. Yet she preferred his original name, Stone, for its simplicity, which held wishes for peace and smooth sailing. Though it may seem vulgar, yet in this world, is there anything more important than her husband's safe return? Once Xiaoxi left, she suddenly found herself with a lot of free time. The large canopy bed felt cramped when he was here, but now that he's gone, it feels empty. Counting the days, she planned to make him a new cloak, ready for him to wear upon his return. Qinghe went out once to buy some silk thread, and when she returned, she couldn't stop smiling. Even when helping her remove her hairpins at night, a smile still lingered in her eyes. Looking at Qinghe through the bronze mirror, did you find some money? Finding money isn't as interesting as this. Oh, my maid has become so grand she even looks down on finding money now. What's the good news? I dare not say, for fear you'll scold me for speaking out of turn. I won't scold you. Go ahead and tell me. It's about Miss Lu Xianxian. What about her? Hearing this, Qinghe opened the floodgates and began recounting the story in detail. Qinghe said, on her way to buy sewing supplies, she ran into a fellow villager working at the Shen household. From this villager, she learned that Lu Qianqian was now at the Shen residence, but life was not going well for her. She had tensions with her mother-in-law, conflicts with her sisters-in-law, and was being ostracized almost everywhere. Most importantly, a rift had gradually grown between her and Shen Yanxi. Their past affection was gone. Hearing this, her heart was filled with mixed emotions. Actually, back when Shen Yanxi was determined to marry Lu Qianqian, she had already foreseen their difficult path ahead. In the capital, operas changed extremely fast. The once popular tale of Yuncair and Qin Zhao was no longer performed by anyone. Xiaoxi came from an unconventional background. His military tactics were flexible and varied, often achieving victory through surprise. For this southern campaign to suppress bandits, he adopted a tactic of striking straight for the enemy's heart, winning a brilliant blitzkrieg. The cloak she was sewing for Xiaoxe was only half finished when he returned victorious. Hearing the neighing of warhorses outside the manor, she hurried out to greet him. With his longsword across his back, he leaned down and scooped her up effortlessly. In an instant, she was in his arms before the horse. His armor was icy cold, but his breath was scorching hot. Xiaoxi held her tightly in his embrace. Unexpectedly, without a word, Xiaoxi lowered his head and kissed her. His breath was fiery hot. Then he leaned close to her ear and whispered, "Then what am I supposed to do about missing you?" He held her so tightly she could barely move. In her ear was the steady, powerful beat of his heart. Looking up, she saw the sky dyed with crimson clouds. For some reason, her eyes grew warm. "It's only been 7 months, but these past few days, I've been afraid the baby might come early. With you not here, don't you dare go away again." I won't." Xiaoxi reeked of sweat. She pushed him to go bathe. To her surprise, in the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, he was already washed and came out. He came up to her with bright eyes, waiting obediently for praise. Her hand accidentally brushed against his wrist. The icy coldness startled her. "You bathed in cold water? Cold water's faster. What's the hurry? Cold water is bad for you." Xiaoxi wanted to hold her hand, but feared his own chill would make her cold. He only restrainedly touched her fingertips. "It's fine, I'm used to it. Back in the Northwestern Army." "But this isn't the Northwestern Army. We're not short of water or firewood here. Waiting a little longer wouldn't hurt." After all, they had a whole lifetime, a long, long time to spend together slowly. Shen Yanxi and Lin Wanqing met again in the backyard of White Cloud Temple in the capital's outskirts. His young son, Billionaire, had been crying non-stop at night lately. "We've tried every possible remedy. Finally, someone suggested we should consult a venerable monk. When it comes to enlightened masters within 100 miles, none surpass Master Liaochen of White Cloud Temple. But the master is nearly 100 years old and hasn't left the mountain for years." The infant, only a few months old, couldn't speak yet. Even after arriving at the Serene Temple, he continued to cry and fuss. At that time, Master Liaochen was receiving guests. Afraid of disturbing the other worshippers, Shen Yanqi had to carry the child to the backyard, hoping to find a quiet spot to soothe him. That's when he ran into Lin Wanqing. She stood beneath a rose bush, a delicate, jade-like child playing at her feet. 2 maids attended her by her side. She exuded an aura of tranquil peace and serene contentment. In his heart, Shen Yanqi didn't want to encounter Lin Wanqing at this moment. He must look utterly wretched right now. In the height of summer, he was holding a baby who had just wet his clothes. They stood in silence, looking at each other. Finally, it was Lin Wanqing who broke the silence. "If you don't mind, let me hold the child." Shen Yanxi instinctively wanted to refuse, but Jinner's incessant crying was truly giving him a headache. This ordinary infant was proving more troublesome than all the bizarre, secret cases he had ever handled. He glanced down at the child in his arms. The baby was crying so hard he was almost gasping for air, his little face flushed red. With no other choice, he handed the child over. Lin Wanqing took him steadily, skillfully patting the infant's back. In just a moment, Jin'er gradually stopped crying. Why are you alone? Where's his mother? Xianxian isn't well. She's resting at the estate. His lawful wife, Lu Xianxian, had smashed a whole set of teacups at home today. With a resolute expression, she was demanding a divorce. Shen Yanqi hadn't even had time to talk it through with her before other matters demanded his attention. On one side was the wailing Jin'er, on the other, his mother, who had fallen ill from anger. And then there was the mountain of urgent official business piling up. He was truly stretched too thin. But these messy, embarrassing troubles were not for outsiders to know, especially not Lin Wanqing. Lin Wanqing didn't probe deeper into the holes in his story. She simply began humming a soft, gentle tune to soothe Jin'er in her arms. The child who had been playing at her feet immediately came closer. Mother, I want a hug too. Shen Yanqi was taken aback. He hesitated, wondering if he should take Jin'er, who was still sobbing, back. Fortunately, at that moment, the wet nurse who had gone to fetch clean clothes finally rushed over. Shen Yanqi felt as if he'd been granted a pardon. Lin Wanqing moved with extreme gentleness as she handed the child to the wet nurse. She asked her to take the child to change clothes. Only then did Shen Yanqi notice that from holding Jin'er earlier, the front of Lin Wanqing's robe and her sleeves were dampened by the infant's urine. All the verbal skills he had ever learned, his usual silver tongue, his gift of eloquence, had all vanished at this moment. How should he address this? Apologize? Words felt utterly inadequate now. He had nothing to offer as compensation. The Lin family wasn't short on money. He couldn't conjure up women's clothing that fit her, taking off his own outer robe for her. But they were both married to others now. Avoiding suspicion was already a priority. How could he do something so improper? Yet Lin Wanqing seemed completely unbothered by this disheveled state. She smiled faintly and said she would return to her carriage to change. Then, taking the child by her side, she turned and left. As they passed each other, Shen Yanqi caught a faint, ethereal wisp of fragrance like osmanthus from her hair. The more composed and serene Lin Wanqing was, the more it highlighted his own earlier flustered state. And it was at this very moment that Shen Yanqi was inexplicably reminded of many years ago, of the last words Lin Wanqing had said to him. Back then, he had just resolved to give up on Lin Wanqing and marry Lu Xianxian. Lin Wanqing had also turned to leave with the same composure. Only as they passed by, did she look at him and say in a very faint tone, Mr. Shen, do you truly like Lu Xianxian, or do you just like the thrill of defying the whole world? He must like Lu Xianxian. For a long time after that, he firmly told himself this. He and Lu Xianxian were deeply in love, a match made in heaven. Although their social statuses were different and the future held many visible difficulties, these were, to him, all surmountable. Because he was Shen Yanqi, he had cracked major cases, achieved success young, full of ambition. He seemed capable of anything. He once believed he could control everything, trample the world's rules underfoot. A small bump on the road of love was merely an insignificant trial in his glorious life. His love story with Lu Xianxian was adapted into operas sung throughout the capital. But those operas only sang of the twists and turns of love, its soul-stirring passion. They never sang of the mundane realities of daily life, the trivialities and mess. Not long after Shen Yanqi and Lu Qianqian married, conflicts erupted. Lu Qianqian was a child of the Jianghu, used to living by her own code. She acted on impulse and passion, but as the matriarch of the Shen family, she was expected to manage estates and household affairs, to uphold the family's standing. These were never her strengths. Given the Shen family's power and status, the position of Shen Yanqi's wife required not peerless martial arts skills, but a woman like Lin Wanqing, who knew propriety and excelled at managing a household, capable of handling all matters with grace. Lu Qianqian and Shen Yanqi's mother had never gotten along. She also struggled to fit in with his brother's wives. Unwilling to be confined to the inner quarters, she took a job as a constable. Relying on her skills, she excelled at it. But Shen Yanqi's mother remained deeply troubled. She believed such a role offered no help to Shen Yanqi's career and might even bring disgrace to the family. Thus, she always intended to find him a respectable concubine. Shen Yanqi's brothers' wives were all ladies from noble families. They looked down on Lu Qianqian's work as a constable, her past as a female thief, and her dubious friends from all walks of the Jianghu. While not overtly scornful, their temperaments clashed. They had nothing in common. At first, Shen Yanqi tried his best to mediate between all parties. Just like at their wedding feast, he carefully kept his family and Lu Qianqian's people separate to avoid conflict. But everyone grows weary. The constant juggling took its toll. He could defy convention in a moment of passion, but he couldn't rely on that passion to sustain a mundane daily life. During their most heated argument, Shen Yanqi finally lost his patience. Why can't you be more like Lin Wanqing? The entire capital knows that General Jinyuan, Xiao Si, has a widowed sister-in-law with whom he has a complicated relationship. But after Lin Wanqing married into the general's household, she quickly found her place. She actually gets along remarkably well with that elder sister-in-law. Their marriage was arranged by the emperor himself, yet they've grown increasingly harmonious and loving. Xiaoxi came from a military background, but now he's made great strides in literary pursuits as well. It's like he's filled in his own shortcomings. The couple complements each other perfectly. Almost as soon as the words left his mouth, Shen Yanqi was filled with regret. That wasn't what he meant. But to Lu Xianxian's ears, the disdain and expectation in his words couldn't have been clearer. Lu Xianxian stared at him in disbelief. You regret it, don't you? You finally admit it. You regret marrying me, is that it? If you could do it all over again, you'd choose Lin Wanqing. I never should have married you in the first place. At that moment, Shen Yanqi felt utterly exhausted. He didn't even have the strength to argue. He and Lu Xianxian used to be so close. When they first met, it was like a perfect match, the envy of everyone, like a romantic tale straight out of storybooks. But how did life suddenly become such utter chaos and exhausting? And it was right then that Shen Yanqi, following Lu Xianxian's words, couldn't help but wonder. Perhaps back then, if he had made a different choice, if he had listened to his parents and married Lin Wanqing, would his life not have to be so exhausting? Beyond considerations of a family alliance, perhaps his parents' arrangement was genuinely calculated for his own happiness. A well-matched marriage is never just about matching social status. It's the alignment of knowledge, perspective, temperament, and values that allows married life to proceed more smoothly. His life should have been more composed and smooth than it is now. A mountain breeze swept by, ringing the distant evening bell. Shen Yanqi turned around blankly, watching Lin Wanqing as she led the child away into the distance. He belatedly remembered that opera about Qin Zhao and Yingqi's romance. At the opera house, it seems it hasn't been performed for a long time.